Lance Shaw is Director of Product Marketing at Commvault and has over 25 years of experience in product marketing. Welcome to the Language of Business.
Thanks for having me.
25 years, what has been your biggest lesson?
I wish you wouldn't have said that, but now I feel old. My biggest lesson, learn how to collaborate and play nice in the sandbox. It is amazing to me sometimes how organizations or individuals and teams cannot get things done in terms of running a business without being able to collaborate.
What does a company have to think about before getting into different locales?
Really need to think about it from a top-down level. Really, organizations oftentimes think that they can simply, hey, we'll translate a web page and we're suddenly going to be in that market. Hey, voila, we now have a presence in France or Germany or Thailand or wherever it might be. And in fact, that's actually the exact wrong approach. Really, it needs to be thought through from a perspective where you're actually going to drive revenue, where you've thought through exactly what audiences you want to target and why you want to enter that market, right? Considering competitive threats and really thinking about it from a strategic perspective. That's really the first thing you want to think about when entering a new locale or looking to expand your business on any kind of global level.
What is the difference between translation and localization?
I'll start with translation. Organizations will sometimes say, well, I'll just use automated translation services. I'll use, everyone knows Google Translate or Microsoft Translator or any number of these, basically free services, and I'll get close enough. From a translation perspective, that will fail. Anyone who speaks the native language will immediately know that you're relying on some sort of automated translation service and you haven't really done the full job. So for proper translation, you really want to have things done, that include an actual native speaker doing the translation checking, making sure that you're addressing cultural issues or sensitivities and that sort of thing. To be localized, I think it's more than just translation. It's providing an entire customer experience that is in that native language. So yes, I translated my install guide. I translated my web page. I've translated part of my demand gen process. But I have to have that whole holistic experience all the way down into support. Otherwise, I'm really not providing a localized experience.
Could you give us some personal experiences of when it's been done right and wrong?
Yes, I can. Certainly. On the right side, I've worked previously for an organization that approached localization and really their global presence at a strategic level. They had an organization dedicated to that process. It was thought through from top down. They defined what their tier 1 languages were going to be, and they went after those languages with a complete program. They had tier 2 languages where they did less, but they knew they had smaller markets, and in some cases they would allow business partners to enter that market and provide their services for them. For example, they knew they wanted to enter the Hungarian market, didn't really have a presence, couldn't really call that tier 1, but we had partners on the street there in Budapest and other areas that could provide those services, and so we leveraged them. So in that organization, we thought about providing international services from the top down. It was everything from the presence in the field, the ability to provide support in that native language, the ability to provide robust documentation and web materials in that language. So that was really where it was well done. Now, when you think about when it's not well done, it's pretty much the opposite of that. Maybe the aforementioned case where we translate the web page and, okay, we are now in that market, and it's actually doing a disservice to customers. It completely backfires. It makes you look like you're not committed as a company. It makes you look like you're not serious.
How do product marketing and language play nicely in the same sandbox?
For me, as a director of product marketing, I'm concerned with revenue generation, lead generation, demand gen, quality, right? And so I want to make sure that when customers are looking at my product and can discover my offering and ultimately consider us and enter into a discussion from a sales perspective, that they have the right materials. And we know that it's like what you and I would do buying a car, right? We do all this research before we ever set foot in a dealer. And our customers are the same way. They will do all this research and look at your assets and evaluate you and how you compare to your competitors before they ever engage in a sales conversation. So all of those assets have to be delivered in a localized manner. And so that's one thing that I focus on as a product marketing manager. We focus on a particular locale to have all the critical assets to move the customer through that journey of awareness, discovery, then to consider your product and ultimately make a purchase.
What's the difference between revenue generation and demand generation?
Well, demand gen ultimately, if it's done right, will lead to revenue generation, right? So from a demand gen perspective, I'm going to reach out and generate either assets or information that will drive customers to learn more about my product, and generate leads that will ultimately be qualified to move to sales, right? So, and those leads eventually would then, hopefully, if everything goes well, and I have the best product and the best solution for their problems, I'm going to generate revenue.
Lance, thank you.
Thank you.
Lance Shaw, Director of Product Marketing for Commvault.